So I think that's the indication for us all to start. Can anyone please confirm if I'm audible?
Yes, you are, Chandrima.
Okay, thank you. So, very good evening to one and all. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the second Policy Manthan organized by Sarkari School. After the incredible success of our previous session, we are thrilled to continue the momentum with today's discussion on the thought-provoking topic, Global Classroom, Lesson India Can Learn from International Education Policies. The goal of today's discussion is to explore how various international education policies can serve as models for enhancing India's educational system. Each of you will focus on one country of your choice and analyze its policies, reflecting on whether these approaches are optimal for Indian students. Additionally, we encourage you to propose ways these strategies could be adapted or implemented to address the unique challenges within India's educational framework. This discussion isn't about sharing ideas, but about fostering collaboration and sparking meaningful dialogue. As we proceed, I would like to remind everyone of the following rules and regulations. Each participant will have 2 minutes to present their views. Be concise and stay focused on your country's policies and its relevance to India. Camera must be on throughout the session to encourage active participation and engagement. The final 10 minutes will be reserved for a Q&A round where you will be having the opportunity to ask questions and engage with other participants with their perspectives.
The policy that made modern Vietnam.
And please maintain respectful behavior at all times. This is a platform for constructive and supportive dialogue, and mutual respect is crucial. Participation is compulsory, and we will keep track of all attendees throughout the event. I encourage everyone to participate enthusiastically and make this session as insightful and inspiring as possible. Let's remember that this is the opportunity to learn from global best practices and apply them to create meaningful change in our education system. With this, I declare our discussion open. So without any further delay, let's begin. I would first like to invite our first participant, Tirtha Rajesh. I don't think she's in the meeting yet. Okay. Can we have Mehak?
Sure. Greetings, everyone. Myself, Mehak. My country for today's discussion is Japan. Okay. So, while talking about educational policies and educational system in Japan, I would like to highlight certain implementation of Japan and what are the challenges faced by them and how these like policies or these programs implemented in Japan can certain what are these things or what are these qualities that India can implement in their education system. So while talking about Japan education system, Japan has made compulsory education for all students, and most importantly, they have focused on elementary education and even 3 years of junior school education as well. And it focuses on basically the core subjects, and moreover it focuses on holistic development of the student because they believe that holistic development of the student opens the space for collaboration, creative thinking, innovation, and moreover provide them the opportunity to grow and learn. So, and it also focuses on moral education, like since the very beginning they have implemented the policy of moral education, like giving the child knowledge about social responsibility, their own skills, what are the personal responsibility of yours towards yourself and the society as well. So these are certain skills that Japan has implemented. And while the if I talk about challenges, so Japan has a really competitive exam system, which leads the child of like really there is exam stress, and moreover it doesn't give them the opportunity then to learn, and there is much competition, and due to this competition rat race is there. So if we talk about it though it focuses on holistic development, but somehow these examination policies implemented by Japan should not be implemented in India, because then it leads to exam only the dot learning is there, and there's no scope of like learning or growing through that. All right. So Japan has also Japan has also focused on digitalization with the enhancement of globalization. They're more focused on digital classrooms, teacher training. Teachers have been trained to and the teaching system have been more of digitalized, and all this have led due to globalization. So I would like to give an example as well. In 2022, I have myself collaborated with the students of Japan in a cultural exchange program. So in that, there was a school in Tokyo. So they collaborate and they told about, it was like a cultural exchange program. So they talk about their education system, their cultural system, what are what happens in their country related to culture, education system. And I myself feel that they were the classroom system, there was so much cleanliness. They were like more of, they were emphasized to talk more in English. So they have been emphasized, and they were like more of organized themselves. So it was kind of holistic development. They are focused on, they focused on creativity as well. And like it was overall and a great experience while talking to them. So this is one of the reasons why I've chosen this country for today's discussion. And the thing that India should follow or implement in its education system is, since the very beginning, it should also implement holistic development in child. Uh, like Japan has contributed or invested in teacher training, so India should also do the same. Like give more training to teachers so that they could also be aware about the education system. And while Japan in 2020, their curriculum reform was there, so they introduced about STEM. So they focused on technology, digitalization. In NEP 2020, though the education system has been reformed, but more reform can be introduced, or implementations can be introduced by adopting different measures on and towards early childhood education and teachers training. And as I mentioned about cleanliness point, so as Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is have been done, but more cleanliness towards the students so that their surroundings remain clean. So these are the my points of view about Japan education policy. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Mehak. Really informative, and you as well created or rather put forward a real life experience of your cultural exchange program. So that was really enlightening. Thank you so much, Mehak. Next, can I have Trisma?
Yeah, I hope I'm audible. Just tell me in case
You
I.
are. Yeah.
So, good evening, everyone. Today, I want to talk about the country of Estonia and its education policy. So, Estonia's education system has been widely regarded as one of the best in the world, and I think there's a lot that India can learn from it. In fact, in the program for International Students Association, Estonia was ranked number one in Europe in the year 2022. So, Estonia's education strategy, which is described in its 2021 to 2035 strategy, it focuses on making education accessible for everyone at every stage of life. It emphasizes lifelong learning, digital literacy, and inclusivity. For example, through initiatives like its major initiative called the Tiger Leap Project, Estonia has ensured that schools are equipped with the latest technology, making digital skills a priority for students from a very young age of their life. I think what makes Estonia's system successful is its focus on giving the teachers freedom to innovate in their classrooms. They adapt according to their students' needs. So, educators have the autonomy to tailor lessons and teachings, which leads to more engaging and effective learning. So combining this with a strong community support for education and a curriculum that develops skills like problem solving, critical thinking, even entrepreneurship, for example, it's a very effective method. In contrast, talking about India's education system, the NEP of 2020 is definitely aiming for change. It focuses on shifting away from rote learning and places more emphasis on creativity, critical thinking, and vocational training, definitely. However, I think India faces challenges such as a large, diverse population, especially comparing it with Estonia, which is a pretty small country. And India also faces challenges like infrastructure deficits and a digital divide that affects access to technology, especially in the rural areas. So, and India also has an education system that still largely focuses on exams, which can cause stress and limit holistic development sometimes. So I think here the key main difference between the two systems is the way teachers are trained and supported. In Estonia, continuous professional development for teachers remains a key feature, whereas in India, there's a need for teacher training and more autonomy for educators to adapt to their students' needs. Talking about what India could learn from Estonia, I think, as I mentioned above, empowering teachers, giving the teachers the freedom to adapt and innovate would make learning more relevant to students. And promoting lifelong learning, which would encourage people to continue learning every through every phase of their life. And it will also enable them to stay adaptable in a changing job market, which is a serious concern for many. And also investing in technology, like following Estonia's lead by improving digital infrastructure, would ensure that students in all areas and not just urban ones have access to technology. And I think one way we can do this is getting the community involved, like involving stakeholders like parents, NGOs, and the private sector. All of them coming together can improve educational outcomes. For India to adopt these strategies, however, we would need to adapt Estonia's strategies to our own context. For example, when we introduce initiatives similar to the Tiger Leap project of Estonia, we would need to ensure that they reach the rural areas. And taking emphasis on Estonia's emphasis on critical thinking, we could make sure it works for India's diverse population. Lastly, I think India can build stronger teacher development programs and give teachers more freedom to innovate. That's all. Thank you.
Really well spoken, Chrisma. Your speech was more and less revolving around, correct me if I'm wrong, teacher training programs and its emphasis on Indian education system, which is very valid, as well as Estonia being a European country, it having a digitalized education system. So that
Yes.
was a very well put forward thought. Thank you so much, Chrisma. Next, can I have Harmeen?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Myself, Harmeen. So, I'll be talking about South Korea today. The country has one of the most successful education systems globally and is often praised for its high academic achievements. Education is compulsory from the age 6 to 15, and students are typically in school for over 12 hours a day, often including after-school tutoring. South Korea's education system comprises of many features, such as a strong emphasis on STEM education, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which is highly prioritized. And parents invest heavily in their students' academic success. The country is consistently performing high in international assessments like PISA, which stands for Program for International Student Assessment. It has become possible because the country has followed certain policies over the time. The government controls the national curriculum, which means that students across South Korea are taught the same material at the same grade level. It is one of the leading countries in terms of integrating technology into the classroom. If India tries to adapt to South Korea's policy, it would be benefited in various aspects, such as adapting a more uniform national curriculum, which means that, I'm sorry, which would help ensure that all students receive a similar quality of education regardless of the region they live in. South Korea's strong emphasis on STEM education is something India could adopt given the increasing demand for technology and engineering skills in the global economy. And addressing mental health crisis among students should be a priority by integrating well-being programs into schools. But by adopting these policies, India would also face some challenges, such as the exam-centric culture in South Korea has been criticized for leading to mental health challenges. Similar outcomes could be observed if replicated in India. Moreover, replicating the private tutoring trend in India would further the divide between the urban and rural education. So, to conclude, I'd like to say that South Korea's education system offers valuable lesson for India, particularly in areas like curriculum, teacher quality, and STEM education. And to improve its education system, India should selectively adapt to South Korea's policies, taking into account the unique needs and circumstances of its diverse student population. Thank you.
Very well articulated, short and crisp. Well done, Harmeen. Your
Thank you.
speech was more and less, if I compare it to India's education system, it you mentioned something like it has the same board that the whole country follows. For example, if we talk about in India, like compared to South Korea, supposedly we consider South Korea's education system, supposedly we'll have CBSE board as our only board throughout India. Is that what you were trying to say?
No, South Korea follows the same pattern at every grade. Like a student living in one area and another area is taught the same things. But in India, we follow different boards such as CBSE,
Correct.
ICSE.
Yeah,
Yes, that is not the pattern in South Korea.
in South Korea. Correct. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Harmeen. Yeah. Next, can I have Ashwada?
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
So, good evening, everyone. And today I'll be discussing some policies that Malaysia follow, which differ from India. So, if we look at the history of Malaysia, so they also used to focus mainly on the framework and strong content knowledge in subjects like science, maths, and languages. However, with increasing globalization, they have put more emphasis now on developing high order thinking skills. So in India, we follow the 10 plus 2 curriculum along with the 3 years of college. But in Malaysia, they follow a 6-3-2 structure, which is 6 years for primary education, 3 years for secondary education, and 2 years for post secondary education, which is very similar to 10th and 11th grade in India. And for the 12th grade, they give a special college entrance exam if they want to pursue a degree in a university. So in Malaysia, the Curriculum Development Center, the Bhagan, which is known as the Bhagan Pabugam Curriculum in Malay language. So it is emphasizing on the Bhasa Malaysia, which is the only curriculum followed in Malaysia. So in India, like you just said, we follow ICSE, CBSE, and other state boards like UP board and MP board. So in Malaysia, there is only one curriculum followed by the whole country, and you will see that there are more public schools than private schools, and people tend to enroll their children in public schools more because they believe that public schools are better than private schools. And in Malaysia, the curriculum is regulated by multiple bodies, and Malaysia also focuses on STEM education. And if we look at the in India, the private education is seen as a status symbol, and with many urban middle and upper class families preferring private schools that often provide better infrastructure and in English medium education. So public schools are often underfunded, leading to disparity in quality between private and government schools. So in India, there is a significant uh, gap in quality of education between urban and rural areas. So, with many government schools lacking basic infrastructure, while Malaysia has more uniform and standard of public education across the country. So, what India can do is it can improve its rural education and invest in infrastructure, boost the technological integration, and expand its higher education. And also, this portal thing that we have Swayam portal, which is free for students, so we can enroll in any programs. So, if we go to the portal and try to register, which I faced. This problem I faced a bit before 15 days. So I was trying to register on the portal and I couldn't fill my university name. And as I filled the information in the first part and try to fill the information in the next part, the first information disappears. So the portals we have doesn't work properly. But there was this Malaysian education portal which for like free courses, so you can enroll there for free, and it has very good overall. I had very good experience like searching for courses on that portal. So yeah, I would like to conclude this with that India should really work on the technological part and the STEM part because we are living in an age of globalization, and I think we should focus more on improving on the technological part.
Very well spoken, Ashwada. Yeah, that problem of yours was quite relatable of the Swayam portal or any Indian portal for that matter tends to have, even if I have my personal experience while filling up this UET portal, it tends to, disappear the first line or something like that. So yeah, it's quite a relatable point you mentioned. Thank you so much, Ashwada. Next, can I have Tirtha?
Yes, ma'am, sure. I'm actually having some net issues. So can I get my video off?
All right, no
Yeah,
problem.
okay. My audio is fine, right?
Yeah,
My
yeah.
audio yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, you are audible.
Okay. So good evening to all of you. Today I'm here to share my insights on the topic global classrooms, and I have chosen the country Switzerland. Now, this is a country which is renowned for its world-class education system. So from my research, I could find out that the Swiss education model is built on three core pillars. The pillars being, first one, decentralization, second one, vocational education and training, VET, and third, inclusive innovation. So now I'll get into details of these three topics, and let's also see how we can relate that to India. Starting off with the first one, decentralization. So in case of Swiss education, they actually have significant autonomy in policy making in terms of the regional government. For instance, the Swiss system is actually divided into cantons being different states, and these state authority have a great autonomy in terms of the policy making in case of education matters. So the local governance ensures that all of these policies being implemented are actually tailored to the needs of the region. And that kind of forces and ensures that there is more efficiency and equity. Because as we know, now quoting India, see, India, a country of huge diversity, cultures, and conditions, we have different peoples from different strata in different part of our country. Hence, we also require a system wherein we can cater to needs of all of these people from all the classes. So I believe that by introducing a system like decentralization and focusing on the state and the district level authorities, we can actually design a curricula and teaching method which will cater to needs of the specific people living in that particular region, which can actually benefit us a lot. The second point was VET, or vocational education and training. Now, Switzerland's VET program is a global benchmark, and about two-thirds of students in Switzerland actually opt for vocational training after lower secondary education. In India, I believe that vocational training is kind of overlooked. So this system in Swiss is termed as the dual track system, and they combine the classroom instruction along with hands-on internship and apprenticeships in industries. And this actually helped the students build relevant skills, and this in a way help about 95% of the graduates find job shortly after their training. And this was a data published by the SERI, which is the Swiss State Secretariat for Education, Research and Innovation. And as per this, as I mentioned, 95% graduates find a job after training. In case of India, one major problem we faces with respect to unemployment, and the reason is that though we have enough manpower, we lack skilled people. So our youth is very much accustomed towards the book level learning, and they lack the skills necessary in this world. So to empower the students, we need to bring more skill-based training. For instance, in India, we have something called as the initiative like National Skill Development Mission of 2015. So though we have these organizations and missions, we still need to integrate these things in the mainstream education. So adopting the Switzerland's dual track system can actually help us address the unemployment, and also can help us to drive the economic growth in terms of building skilled labor in our country. The third point is inclusive innovation. So in Switzerland, they actually focus on inclusive lifelong learning, even for the adult. So they have various adult education programs and innovative teaching practices, and they also foster creativity and thinking by prioritizing student-centered learning and interdisciplinary curricula. So they have a program called as the Swiss Skills Championship, and this actually celebrates vocational excellence, and they actually reward the students having skills. And education is mostly skill-based. Now, in terms of Indian context, we have the NEP, which actually aligns with the Swiss policy, wherein we emphasize on the critical thinking and skill-based education. So, by implementing more innovative teaching methods and by promoting skill-based achievements, we can actually shift the social concepts of propagating the idea of skill-based learning than plain bookish knowledge. So these were the main 3 points which I wanted to share with you guys today. The first one being focusing more on the regional autonomy. Second one, focusing on the vocational education and providing vocational training for students. And third, by programs like the Skills Championship in Switzerland, by integrating that to our academics, we can actually promote the skill-based learning for students. So by these methods, we can also actually face the issue of unemployment in India as well. So that's all. Thank you.
Quite well spoken, Tirtha. Something which I personally also believe, decentralization of education. Like again, a top tier organization cannot really cater to the educational needs of a lot of, maybe for example, rural systems or whatsoever. So yes, decentralization of education is a much required situation we need now. So yeah, and apart from that, also really well spoken 3 points. Thank you, Tirtha.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, next, can I have Aditi?
Yes. Good evening to all. Am I audible?
You are.
Thank you. So today I want to draw your attention to an extraordinary journey of innovation and inclusion in education. That is the UAE's remarkable approach. In the UAE, education is not just a means to an end, but a transformative tool for shaping the future. The UAE is redefining education by making it innovative and inclusive, and especially future ready and at the early childhood. So, and I just want some add some data like there is 76% of the UAE residents view e-learning as a significant resource for professional development. With the high-tech integrated classrooms, students learn at their own pace, turning education into a personalized journey. The Abu Dhabi Education Council's Computer Science First initiative, which has been teaching coding since 2015, and that's a quite amazing and surprised for me, because that time coding is not just famous in the whole world, but they are doing since 2015. And it's a vision where every child to occupy to innovate, and not just as a consumer, as an innovator. And this isn't just a trend. Our 2020 report says that, and also predicts that the global e-learning market will hit $375 billion by 2026, with the UAE's playing a key role because their approach is perfectly aligned with the digital age. So now let's reflect. So, what can India learn from the UAE's education system? So, India must adopt digital education at the early school time. integrating tools like smart labs to foster creativity, digital skills, uh, teach children not just to use technology but to create something different and shape it. And yes, AI isn't here to replace creativity, it's here to amplify it. The real art is in using it to refine and execute original ideas. Awareness and education from a young age are keys. We can imagine the possibilities if we empower the youth generation to lead the digital future. While adopting technology has numerous positive impacts, there are also certain drawbacks. For instance, local students in the UAE may face challenges like accessing technology easily, because it's not easy to access technology for everyone in the local areas. So yeah, UAE's people also face it. But however, in today's rapidly advancing technological world, integrating technology from an early age is not just beneficial but essential for future readiness. India can add this in our country, and along with we can secure a brighter and track-driven future for the generation to come in India. So yeah, thank you. That's it from my side.
Very well spoken, Aditi. Through your speech, one question I had, you mentioned coding was introduced in 2015, which was really impressive. But to what age was it introduced? Like, were they graduates, school-going students? Who were the target audience for coding as a subject to be taught?
Yes, I have just found in a report, there is mention that coding has introduced in 2015 for the school students, like maybe for 9th, 10th or 8th, some like that. Matlab, in a school time.
Very impressive. This reminds me of that COVID era where, these kids were enrolled in some coding, I don't know, some websites or advertisements used to come, which used to, cater to the young generation. Literally, fifth, sixth students who were in fifth or sixth standard were the one who were really tech savvy and all. So yeah, that was quite interesting. Thank you, Aditi. Next, can I have Ankita?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I would like to share my screen. I have made sharing is not turned on. I have sent request.
I think now you can.
Okay.
Try it once.
Is it visible?
Like, yeah, it's showing you have started the screen sharing. But the screen, yeah, now it's visible.
Okay. So my country of the discussion today is Singapore. So Singapore has always been very particular about their education, as they considered it their pillar of their growth and development for the economy. So, as a Singapore Ministry of Education in recent speech has also said that education is the most powerful investment in our future. Then major other things, among other things. So, Singapore has consistently ranked top in PISA, which is an program for international student assessment, in particularly reading, maths, and science. So, it focuses on the scientific demeanor of its people. So key focus areas in the Singapore's education policies has been skill building, teacher quality, and innovation. So these will be focusing upon today, and among other themes. So literacy rate in Singapore has always been above 90 and 95, with recent data available that is of 97.5% in 2020 that they had. So, sorry. So key features of Singapore's education system. The first is dynamic curriculum. The curriculum of Singapore has always been regularly updated according to the needs of the world. And right now, they focus on STEM, which has been the focus of many developed countries right now, including South Korea and Estonia. as said earlier, today's meeting, and digital literacy and AI tools have also been focused upon. So introduction of computational thinking and coding in primary schools itself has been done in order to equip children with the required skills in this domain. Bilingual education policies have been a focus where students learn English with their mother tongue, which preserves their cultural identity along with making them ready for the global competition. So over 50% of students achieve bilingual proficiency by age 15 only due to this policy of theirs. The second is their Skills Future initiative. Due to their focus upon making its citizens skills be acquiring their skills, they provide lifelong learning to upskill their citizens. This initiative helps students and adults to acquire job relevant skills. And the thing that amazed me was they provide 500 Singapore dollars to every citizen on approved courses under Skills Future credit. Now, this can be something India can be like nearly impossible for India due to its vast population that will be seeing. So 80% of students participate in at least one vocational course before graduation. So before graduation, they are being equipped with this vocational skill. And in India, even after our graduation, we are sometimes left with nothing to see upon where to go. And another thing is technology integration. The Smart Nation initiative has been very tech savvy, like have made them tech savvy by including smart boards, e-learning modules, and 100% internet penetration in schools. So it have been a major focus in their educational policy. So like Diksha and Swayam, as Ashwada told, Singapore's student learning space is a national free online platform for students to access resources and interactive lessons. So other thing that they focus upon is teacher training. Rigorous training is provided through National Institute of Education. The teachers training is something that is the foundation of their educational policy, and teachers are given continuous professional development like 100 hours a year. The teacher student ratio is 1:16 in primary schools, so, which is very less according to as compared to India, which even raises high as 1:30 or 40 in schools, especially in primary schools. The average teacher salary is 37 lakhs per year. So this can be a very good incentive for the teachers to give their best to their children. And last thing is holistic development through co-curricular activities. So although they focus on exams and academic excellence, they have also made mandatory participation in sports, arts, and leadership programs, and various activities for further creativity and leadership have been there, like robotics, theater, debate, etc. So drawbacks of these policies, which I observed, were high stress and competition. Although there are these focus upon co-curricular activities, they focus highly on academic excellence, due to which children faces high stress and competition. Uh, yeah. So second is overemphasis on rankings, as we saw that in PISA, and limited flexibility, as they are given vocational skill early on. There is very limited space for them to explore many spaces later on. So teacher burnout, as teachers are expected to give their children much more than their capacity. So it leads to teacher burnout. The lack of inclusivity for special education needs students have been observed in their educational system, and reduced work-life balance, as students are made to uh, have private tuition after schools for the vacations, etc. So they are not able to manage the work with the private life. So what India can learn is the teacher professionalism and development. We can incentivize our teachers through various incentives, and we can launch diploma courses and surveys improving teacher student ratios and their yogdan in our future making. So early childhood education should India should focus upon making structured and play-based learning models, strengthening Anganwadi centers. And majorly, I have seen in my area that Anganwadi centers are reducing. They are not up to their mark as they earlier were even. So focusing on cognitive and language development can be taken up by them in early formative years. So personalized and technology integrated learning should be focused upon India, which would reduce digital divide, as it's a major challenge right now India is going through. So skill development through vocational training, which has been missing from India's curriculum since a long time, and student well-being. So Singapore especially focuses on the social and emotional learning of their students. So they counsel their students about their well-being, holistic well-being. So India should incorporate mental health programs. So these are the implementation challenges that India faces on its education policies, and it can face while implementing Singapore's policies. So first is huge population and scaling issues. So Singapore's population is a very small country. So the skills future credit, as I told you, it cannot be implemented with the same intensity in India. So India would need solutions, India-specific solutions for that, which we have on next slide. So resource constraints, limited funding of India's as 4% of GDP, about 4% of GDP is spent on education, which is much below 6% target recommended by NEP. The digital divide, as we saw, teacher shortage, as well as lack of training, bureaucratic delays, we all know that, cultural resistance. So traditional focus on rote learning and exam-oriented education has been resisting skill-based approaches. So infrastructure gaps and equity issues, they make inclusive education difficult. So at last, we'll see the India-specific solutions. So as Singapore has a national open platform for digital literacy, India also has Diksha and Swayam and many others. But as Ashwada said, these need a good operation system, and we need to leverage local resources through community involvement, improve funding. We need improved funding through public-private partnerships, and need various resources through budget allocation. Digital divide can be reduced through low-cost devices. BharatNet expansion can be done. Skill development programs and incentives for teachers, as we saw. Infrastructure improvements, better policy implementation, decentralization, as Chandrima was saying, it can help us in our grassroots level to enhance the education system. Technology integration like AI and challenging traditional cultural of education, and parental engagement can be a very high source for that. So thank you so much. If we'll build these gaps through India-specific solutions, we are sure to build future of India. So thank you so much.
Quite an impressive
I'm
point.
sorry if I took so long. I didn't know.
It was all worth it, I would rather say, and it was quite impressive. This thought of yours was quite impressive, and the way you put forward your points was also quite articulated and really impressive. One thing, although correct me if I'm wrong, if Prisma also mentioned something about PISA or some that portal.
Yeah.
Prisma had which country? Prisma, are you there? Estonia was
Yeah,
ranked number
Estonia.
one in.
Yeah, Estonia was my country.
So
Yeah, so
like
every year Estonia, Singapore, and many other also, like they switch their places in the top 5 ranks. I think I'm not
which,
sure top 3 or top 5, but Singapore has many a times topped on first position and sometimes on second or third position
all right,
on this.
because Prisma was mentioning the year 2022. I don't remember which year you mentioned, but
I
yeah,
couldn't, I couldn't find the exact years, but I know that they have been like very good in these ranking. These countries, Estonia, even South Korea. Once I'm not sure about that.
yeah, no, but yeah, very well put forward. Very impressive, Ankita. Thank you so much. Yeah, next can we have Diganto?
Hi, good evening, everyone. So I'll be talking about Vietnam. So first thing, why Vietnam? So Vietnam has a like very crucial history regarding primary education that we really lack in India. So, like prior to the mid 20th century, Vietnam's education system was heavily influenced by uh, French colonial rules. So, like then there was only literacy rate of 5%. So after 1986, they improvised reform called Doi Moi. So there they used universal access to primary education, where primary education was made like compulsory to everyone, and there was elimination of fees in the primary education, and then like regarding like after some years in the 21st century, a report says that there was over 95% of allotment in primary education in their country. So also there was another improvement in community participation. So there they improvised parents and local stakeholders in their schools development, and they included teacher training programs, which is very crucial. Like also the one thing that India lacks is teacher training programs. We only think that like students are only should be supposed to get education from good teachers, but where would the good teachers come from if they are not well trained? So like uh, India is in a similar situation, if we can say that. The report like India has before included or implemented SSA, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, and RTE Act. But the challenges that India faced, that a 2022 ASER report only says that only 25.9% of grade 5 students could read grade 2 level of textbooks, which is very poor situation. So, and also normal issues like lack of common amenities in the schools, like there is no toilets, there is no teachers, sufficient teachers. And in this point, I'd like to add one thing. Like some days back, I attended a conference. So there, one IAS said that they conducted a survey and they asked the schools to send like how many toilets they have in their school, and literally they asked to send them pictures. So then they found out that most of the like schools are only putting a brick in front of a door, and then they are saying that that's a toilet. So that made them realize that there is a lack of common amenities, and that got them done to make the toilets and all. And so is it the question that should we replicate the systems that Vietnam implemented in India? So there arises one vital questions of context dependency. So if one country implements some policies, doesn't mean that we should replicate in ours. So the main context dependency challenges India should face, there is different socioeconomic structures, different federal systems, and the population size is also an issue, and cultural variations. So in Vietnam, they're implementing nationwide centralized policies. So it won't work here because different regions, different states have different cultures, uh, different like abilities to cope up, to catch up. So we have to think in a decentralized way, obviously, and so consequently there are the schemes like midday meal schemes and DPEP schemes like district primary education program, which uh, which looked for gender and social disparities in the education and try to mitigate them, and also the RTE Act. So I and the recommend then that what are the ways? Then I should recommend to have a better resource allocation program, which will properly ensure that the resources that are allocated from states or from central, that should be allocated equally or equitably to the schools, and better teacher training programs, community involvement that doesn't work. I haven't seen better community involvement in India. Like they don't even consider local stakeholders and parents' decisions to have a development in schools as such. And political weight, that is also like important problem in India, that they carve their wants and needs, the politicians, as per their willings. So we should take care of that, and monitoring and evaluation. So we should have a better monitoring system to such that there is a better management of this education. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diganto. One of the points I could relate to, not currently, but of course, my first 2 years of my education plus first, second, I was also in a government school, and that was exactly the condition of the washrooms. At least back then, that was also what 2 decades of not two, a decade or two, a decade ago, basically. So I at least assumed things would have been better, but well. Another question I had, you mentioned something about subsidization of education or free education in Vietnam. Where, like, was it implemented and when was it implemented? I was curious.
It was with a scheme, like, which was one with Doi Moi, and there was a scheme called Fundamental School Quality Level. So it ensures that schools meet minimum standards. So with that, they implemented that. They almost eliminated the fees for primary education.
Okay, only for primary education this thing was.
Primary education.
Okay, okay. All right. Thank you so much, Digando. Very well articulated. Good research. Next, can we have Simranjeet? She is in the meeting. Simranjeet, are you there? I think not. So yeah, moving on forward to our last participant, Meet.
Hello, good evening. And today I would like to talk about China. So let's first understand what's the structure in India. So if we go back to the Independence Day, the post-Independence Day, the government really focused on the higher level education, like IITs were built after the post independence. Then there were IIMs. So basically, our approach towards education was top to bottom. So first we focused on the university level education. We started building IITs, IIMs, which were obviously a great initiative. And then we slowly build up to the secondary, and then we went to primary. But if we look at China, or if we look at anywhere in the world with top universities, they mainly focused with the primary education first, then they built on. So they had an approach of bottom to up rather top to bottom. So like in China also, they focused on the primary education, and they had a really strong belief that the minimum level of minimum education is more necessary than the higher education, the quality of higher education. And that is where somewhere I feel that maybe the approach should have been different from the government of India back then, but it wasn't. And like we see in China, when there was a lot of unemployment and a lot of struggles back in the day when China had, they first focused on improving education rather than other sectors. And while improving their education system, they really focused on research and development of the system. So in the earlier days, I don't remember the exact, but in the start of 20th century, 21st century, they had this scheme called, not scheme, a project called the Plan. So basically, the Plan was a project where there were 100 people in total, which included academia and research scholars. Then there were other government employees and other education related people. They all sat and they did extensive research on the current system that they were implemented in the education system. What were the loopholes, what were they doing wrong in the education system, and then they devised a plan to the education minister of China. They also um, explained their idea to the public so that there was transparency, and they also wanted to know the view of the public on this education system that they would like to implement. And with this research, they further went ahead with how they should implement their education system, and they started focusing on the primary education. And so, like once they started implementing their strategy, then they focused on the rural part of the China. So how would they approach the rural part? So for that, they implemented e-learning basically to those services. So government employees would go to the rural areas and they would set up certain devices that could connect teachers from urban areas through some projector or some sort of things, and then they would teach them, which made the students from rural areas well educated with the tech aspect as well, and also better quality teachers would were motivated to teach the rural areas as well, as uh, they didn't had to leave their homes or their teaching premises. So yeah, that is what I feel was one of the like the research part was one of the best thing that they did, because I feel most of India, we um, like if we go on the stock market as well, like if I just deviate back, even in stock market, our people, they go in blindly without even researching about certain stock or certain company. So I feel India lacks a lot in research aspect, which should be more implemented and which should be more focused on. And then we should uh, dive into certain policy or implementing the part of policy or something. So yeah, that was a big point that I would like to mention of the research part. And there are some policies that have been started implementing as well of the e-learning, such as there was, I don't remember the name of the scheme, but there was a scheme for providing laptops to children for education. So that is a good initiative taken. It started in UP, I feel. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, so that is a good initiative started by India. And we should more focus on the research part and then implement a policy. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Meet. One question I had, this rural area in China, as you said, as you mentioned, this e-learning process was being conducted by, some computers or TVs being installed in rural areas. Which year was it in China?
It was from 2010, I feel. Even I
That is
have to
quite.
recheck. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. Even I have
I
to
mean,
recheck. But yeah, it was from 2010s that they started implementing. Was once they had a good infrastructure in primary sector, sorry, primary education, then they started building towards the rural areas as well.
that's very surprising and interesting, because for that early of a time, for even in what 20 post 2020, also such a concept is quite utopian in India at least.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that was quite interesting, and yeah, very well put forward, articulated speech. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much, Meet. Can we have any questions for any of the participants? Does anyone have any questions? Someone wants to cross question any participant. As I mentioned, this is quite an important section of this discussion. If I want to, put some greed in you guys' mind, the speakers will be acknowledged. So,
One thing I would like to ask, like, to the people who mentioned PISA. So, what are the aspects that they evaluate upon? Like, what are the key criteria that they look for?
yeah, anyone would like to answer that? PISA, if I'm not wrong, Prisma and Ankita were the ones who mentioned uh, in their country, probably they research. So, yeah, any one of you or anyone.
I actually remember reading this, but I'm not exactly sure what the answer is. So,
Hi. I mentioned three aspects that I got to know: reading capacity or the reading capability of their students, and maths, the mathematical equipment, mathematical their ability, mathematical and scientific skills and literacy. These three aspects that I was able to find on the report that I took the fact from.
Okay.
All right. And what about you, Prisma? You were about to say something?
No, I was just saying that I remember reading it, but I wasn't sure what it was exactly.
All right, no problem. So basically, math, the STEM aspect of it is what it's based on, the PISA, right? All right. And since we have Prisma on the frame, I had one question that I forgot to ask you. You mentioned something about the Tiger Leap project. Could you describe it exactly? I didn't quite get you.
Sure, just a second.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. So the Tiger Leap project was basically about digitalizing and modernizing schools. If I'm not wrong, it began somewhat in the 1990s. I'm not sure of the exact year, but that's when it began, and they decided to work towards it. It essentially aimed to provide education no matter where you are from or where you are, and they wanted to provide education as close as close as possible. Like, sorry, if you are living in a particular area, they wanted to ensure that you get education in that surrounding area itself. You do not need to go very far to attain that education. Their main aim was digitalizing education in such a way that it reaches every single individual, to put it in short.
Yeah, I understood it well. And one last question I have, this open-ended question. Everyone mentioned how, if I have to sum all of your stances up, it was all about improving teacher policy and digitalization of education, correct? So, what about in some countries you mentioned, like for example, some Asian countries only, like Malaysia, Singapore, they focused during the primary stage of education upon the native language of that country or that particular state. In NEP, also one of this policy has been implemented, where in the primary system, that is during what, nursery KG, the medium of instruction to the students, to the kids basically, is in their native language. Is that quite a step forward? Because if I'm giving a personal example of mine, I didn't have, my school was not English medium in my first and second grade, and I remember having quite problem accustoming to the language shift that I had to face during my secondary education. So, is that really a step forward, or like, what are your thoughts on that, on this? Anyone?
Uh, One thing could be to implement this is basically they want to create a strong foundation of your own culture and on your language. And then if you create a strong foundation on your secondary language, say English, then you can switch after that. So it won't create a much of a problem. So I also come from a Bengali medium school till 10th. Then I switched to English medium. Then I didn't face that much of a problem because my English was strong. So I think it's necessary in one way ki you are creating a strong foundation of your own culture. You are getting to know your own language. Otherwise, people will tend to forget one's own language, and then they it will dilute the Indian culture. So I think that's important.
Yeah, quite convincing, Diganto. That was a quite good answer. Yeah, I'm pretty much convinced. So, any last words, any other questions, any thoughts to put forward by anyone?
Yes, I just want to add some point. Actually, just discussed about the PISA exams. So these exams were held in our schools. I'm from Johar Navodaya Vidyalaya, that is JNV. So this PISA program introduced in few places like JNV, Kendriya Vidyalaya, or some other schools. So in this, actually in this, I have not given, but in this whole exam, there is a just a way to judge student in their critical thinking or reasoning like thinking, like how can they think. There is some thinking based question, like IQ's questions or mathematics question or something difficult question. And after having exams, they gave a total marks of whole students. And in from this marks, teachers evaluated the students, like how they were performing in the exams. And they also give some points in their board exams, because earlier there was a CGPA system before um, 2018. So that time they give the like whole exams and evaluate the students and give some grade to the particular student, and that enhance their board exams as well. So yeah, that's a maybe good, but there is some drawbacks too in this whole process. So that's why this PISA exams are not conducting this time. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that was one of the question that was in the back of my mind. Thank you for clarifying that. Were you talking particularly about your country? I missed you in the first half. Were you talking about UAE particularly, or in general PISA? Conducting on the basis of IQ level and stuff.
Yes, I just added some points about the PISA, not the UAE. These exams are also held in our country, India. In some places like JNV, Kendriya Vidyalaya, or some schools of Chandigarh, might be, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Oh, I was not aware of that. Thank you for enlightening, Aditi. Thank you so much. So, yeah, I think we have exceeded the time a little bit. So, with this, I would really declare this event a huge success, at least better than our first policy Manthan. I'm quite certain about it. So, thank you all for your enthusiastic participation. And we wish to conduct more such thought provoking sessions in the upcoming weeks. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night.